Would it behoove us to look at the economy from a worst case scenario basis? If we, for instance, were looking at the economy not over optimistically or not even optimistically, but pessimistically, looking for the worst case scenario, could we benefit from this perspective? I believe we could, and I want to share that with you in today's video. Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you are doing well. It is Saturday, June 14th. I'm Ric Bender, and welcome to Finance Lab. As you look at the economy and plan your finances and investing, are you overly optimistic, or pessimistic? In other words, as you plan your investments and moves, do you look for the worst case scenario and plan accordingly? Or do you just simply hope for the best? You know, hope is not a plan, and risk is something that we need to take seriously. In fact, the greatest investors in the world, the most successful investors in the world, will emphasize risk, managing risk, mitigating risk. A very successful banker, if not the most successful banker that most people would know, is Jamie Dimon. And Jamie Dimon is known for his negative outlook constantly concerning the economy. The reason is his management style is to look for the worst, to plan for the worst case scenario. If it doesn't happen, then that's a win. If it does happen, risk has been managed and it will be handled with very little exposure. These are volatile times. I do not need to tell you this. And this is why we see the safe haven of gold and all the conversation about silver. This is why we see what's happening in these markets because of the volatility in the world. The Bank for International Settlements warning all central banks around the globe to prepare for de-dollarization, to prepare for the risk of the dollar itself, to prepare by adding more gold to the balance sheets, to prepare by reducing risk on the balance sheets, debt on the balance sheets. These warnings are real and we should take heed to them. And there are things happening in the globe that, well, they are warnings that if we pay attention, can actually become opportunities for us. Let's face it, at least half of this audience is 55 and above. A greater percentage is 65 and above, which means we do not have the time to make up for tremendous losses. We can't be invested in a great deal of risk. We have to manage risk. Now, there are some of you, 25 and 30 and 40, you may have a lot more time to make up if the investment loses 20 or 30%. But if you're in your middle 60s, you don't have that time. So we need, I believe, to look at things from a worst case scenario. What do we see in the U.S. right now that's a hotbed of conversation? Well, it is rare earth minerals or rare earth elements. We desperately need these elements. Cell phones, cars, everything we do, we need rare earth elements. And this is something we need to prepare for, a worst case scenario. What happens if we can't get them? What happens if China and U.S. talks collapse? Well, this is an issue that we should be prepared for, an investment we may actually want to consider. Now, this is not investment advice. I am no longer a licensed financial advisor, but this is something that I've been looking into and actually pulled the trigger this morning or Friday on, and that is rare earth minerals. I've never really paid that much attention to it because, well, we could simply get everything we needed from China. But now we see some tension. Listen to this. China is making breakthroughs. China is extracting minerals from brine for the first time ever. China, as one individual says, is throwing everything but the kitchen sink at rare earths. The reason being is China moves in advance. China plays the long run. And they, supply 69% of the world's rare earth elements, let's say. Check out this chart from Stock Markets News. China controls 69% of the rare earths, they say. Without them, no EVs, no missiles, no iPhones. And of course, more than that, appliances, so on and so forth. Now, the U.S. is negotiating for a deal in London to avoid total tech collapse. Now, this is a big story, and maybe you haven't paid much attention to it. Maybe you have, and I'd love to hear in the comments below. I must confess that I haven't. So I'm late in this game, but I'm now awakened to the fact that this is a problem. Here we go. China is a critical supplier of rare earths. In 2024, China mined 270,000 metric tons of rare earths, accounting for the 69% of global production. Chinese rare earth production has tripled since 2014, according to U.S. Geological Survey data. By comparison, the U.S. has produced 45,000 tons, or 11% of global production. China is producing 69%. We're producing 11%. China also accounts for 90% of the world's total refining capacity, according to IEA data. This means China is the primary location for transforming mined rare earths into usable materials. The U.S., we need China's rare earths. This is a situation where there are those companies here who are mining and who are processing, but they're few and far between. And I'm not going to make any stock suggestion here, but I am going to give you a link in the description below to some materials that you can read. As I stated, I just can't do that. I'm no longer licensed as a financial advisor. And we're not working directly. And I'm sharing generally. But this is an opportunity, maybe, but there's definitely risk here and volatility. What if we can't get these materials? What if we can't get these elements? Think about that. That might happen. So MoneyWise has written a pretty decent article on this subject. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can do your own homework in this area of rare earth. This is an opportunity, but it's also a problem for our economy here in the U.S. Now, Canada and America are trying to do their best to pick up the production. And I am, by the way, invested as of Friday. I have a position in a particular company, and I might share that sometimes. I can share that privately with you if you want to know in the comments below. This is one of the issues that's adding to the need for the safe haven of gold. So it's interesting how the alternatives of gold and gold mining and junior mining and minerals are all finding their way into the public's eye, where before we paid no attention. Gold prices have now surged 34.50 and stand just a few percentage points away from a new all-time high. Did you know that gold is up nearly 30% year to date? Those of us who have owned the metal couldn't be happier, and we saw this coming. Those of you that hate the metal are going to hate it all the way as we continue to, experience more and more gains because of what's happening in the world. Zero Hedge stated this: China continues to secretly buy 10 times more gold than it reports. Check out this chart. 27 tons. It reports 3 tons. They're buying all the gold that they can. Gold climbs above 3,400, Kitco News says, as economic and geopolitical tensions intensify. We have now reached the amplified poetry state, according to Gold Telegraph. Today, which was, Wednesday, the ECB announced that gold has overtaken the euro as the second largest reserve asset. The same ECB that recently warned physical gold demand is a risk to financial stability. Imagine that. They want to move everybody into fiat and ultimately into central bank digital currency. And now they've announced that physical gold demand is not a risk, but it is now overtaken the euro as the second largest reserve asset. It is time, if you're not invested in the safe haven of gold and silver, and may I add physical gold and silver, then it's time to think about this. And if you're not thinking about rare earth elements, it's definitely time to think about that, in my opinion. Hey, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you spending time with me. If you like what we're doing and you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that notification bell, and you may want to share this channel with a friend. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video.